In today's episode, we're going to be discussing, is Elon driving Bitcoin off of a cliff or into the future of sustainability? Let's dive in and find out. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the QRL show, where you come for the crypto and stay for the quantum. In today's episode, we are going to be discussing a hot topic that has been discussed, crypto Twitter, all over the space online, and that is revolving around Elon Musk, Michael Saylor, and if Elon is driving Bitcoin off a cliff or if he is driving it forward on his SpaceX rocket ships into the future of sustainability. With me for today's episode is our Director of Outreach at the QRL, Michael Strike. Strike, it is great to have you with me today.
Yeah, sounds good. Hey, what is going on with all this drama with Musk and Saylor? We have some very influential people that are it seems up front that they're being a little bit of wish-washy, a little waffly, if you will, in their opinions and in their narratives and in their tweets. And when I say one person, when I say people, I'm probably just referring to one person. What is going on there? Let's talk about this.
Let's dive into that. And the title, obviously it's a very catchy headline in, is Elon driving it price off a cliff or, Bitcoin into the future of sustainability? But there's a lot more substance than just this catchy headline alone. So what I'd like to do is, if we could dive into some of that substance, there's a lot of, meat on the bone to this. So if you want to kind of start out, maybe take us back a little bit of where this kind of all started out in late 2020, moving up to the last couple months of what's transpired, and when Saylor got involved, and just other notable people within the BTC community, mining, and just in crypto in general.
Yeah. Let's go through the timeline. We'll break this down. We'll bring it up to what we know about right now, and then we'll speculate as to the future a little bit as to what it looks like, and we'll get started. All right, Musk, savior of Bitcoin or driving it off of a cliff? Let's discuss this. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Elon. We're going to talk about Saylor. We're going to talk about the narrative back to forth on crypto Twitter, the influence that Musk and Saylor are having on the price of Bitcoin, and we'll talk about some cars, Teslas, in there as well. No, we're not going to bring up the Bitcoin car, although that is a fun picture, right? Bitcoin to the moon, Indy 500. Before I switch off this slide, it's kind of interesting how a decentralized platform is sponsoring an Indy 500 car. I'm not really sure how that works. Maybe one of our viewers will be able to tell us. So this kind of really started with this post, and I think it's NSFW, not necessarily safe for work. But Michael Saylor originally asked Elon, if you want to do your shareholders a $1 billion favor, convert some of the Tesla balance sheet over to USD into Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. And this was back in so we're at December of 2020 right here. After that, Elon asked, same day, are such large transactions even possible? Because you can't, with the type of purchases that Saylor and Musk do, it's very difficult to just go onto retail platforms without driving massive price increases, unless you can have Coinbase or some other platform run a slow purchasing algo for you that does it over time. I don't think Elon he doesn't want to slam that ask, right?
No, it would just be so noticeable, yeah.
People would freak out. Saylor responds, yes, I purchased over $1 billion in the past month. I'd be happy to share you with his playbook offline. Offline is the key there to go over the purchasing strategy of what I just mentioned, from one rocket scientist to another. And so now we're at January 29th. In retrospect, it was inevitable. A lot of speculation that Elon's referring to adding Bitcoin to Tesla's balance sheet at this point. And then, of course, we've got our Doge fanatics down here. 1.5. Okay, that's interesting. 1.5 thousand likes on that Doge. That's crypto Twitter right there, baby. Tesla buys 1.5 billion in Bitcoin, plans to accept it as payment. We're at February 8th, 2021, as you can see at this point. So then let's fast forward from February to March. Elon is on board. You can now buy a Tesla with Bitcoin. It shows up on the website. You can pay for your Tesla car and pay in Bitcoin. They're using open source software, and they're running their own nodes, which is the right way to do things. And they're also not just they're allowing Tesla as a form of payment. This isn't a transitory payment for a car that gets instantly converted into US dollars like a lot of retailers do. Elon's saying that we're going to retain the Bitcoin. So he's at this point on March 24th, Elon sees this as a legitimate store of value. And we can see from the press releases and also from the SEC filings that he has considerable confidence in Bitcoin at this point. So this is March. Let's fast forward a little bit more. Elon saying, so let's fast forward to May. Elon posts a comment here that he's going to stop accepting Bitcoin because on the website because of its cost to the environment. I got the better window here. They suspended vehicle purchases. We're concerned about the rapidly increasing use of fossil fuels. So, on one hand, you have Musk, right? Who, when you look back to his early years, he seemed to be legitimately trying to find ways and to drive disruptive innovation in ways to serve humanity, which is pretty interesting, not just by itself, but becoming one of the richest men in the world while doing it. So we have to, you have to give him some credit just based on those two things alone, because those are being able to forward advances in humanity and becoming wealthy. Those are, I would say more often than not, the rule would be those are negatively correlated rather than positively correlated. So I give Elon a lot of credit for that. But right here on this, it looks like, I'm not going to say this is a backtrack, but I'm going to say that it looks as of this moment, he's taking a course change. And I think it'll become obvious as to why coming up here. Oh, so right after he right
after he makes the announcement.
Right after he makes the announcement.
In that day.
Yeah, it looks a little bit. Yeah. That looks a little more outside of standard deviation to be coincidence, right? Okay, so this is what happened to the price of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're at May 13th now. So energy usage trend over the past few months is insane. So what he's saying is he's acknowledging, he's taking the side that Bitcoin could be. He isn't quite saying that the energy is being wasted, but what I think he's gravitating towards is the energy could be used more effectively, more efficiently. In other words, could be used smarter, which is doing things smarter is at the central hub of most of all of the companies that he owns. So I think it's easy to misinterpret this. A lot of times he doesn't pick and choose his words. He'll just throw whatever's on his mind. So he's saying insane, but that doesn't mean he isn't saying that that's insane based on the value Bitcoin brings. He's leaving out the part that I think he's probably saying in that it could just be done smarter.
Yeah. And before you even get to the next part, another part to add here is that when you're talking about Elon Musk on Twitter, obviously he's one of the richest individuals in the world. He also has so much clout on, let's say, Twitter itself, over 50 million follows. So he plays a certain character role, whether you call it meme lord, whether you call it just a media arm in itself, so that when he is posting things, yes, there is some parts that can be taken literally with what he's saying, but he sometimes will portray that in maybe a comical method, especially on Twitter. But there is substance behind some of the stuff. So as you said, course correction as opposed to being like backtracking might be the better way to go about it. And this kind of brings us to this whole Bitcoin Energy Council, which you're going to dive into now.
Yeah. So this is when the hate tweets start. Right?
Yeah. Before this. Yep.
Right around the 12th. These are just some that I grabbed off of Twitter. I wouldn't describe them as positive. I would describe them as less positive than neutral.
Yeah, and there's a lot of just people that are upset that have been advocates of Bitcoin, whether they be like people that were involved early, and just kind of saying, hey, he's kind of speaking out of his lane a little bit, and it's to the detriment of the project. But we'll see. We'll discuss some hypotheticals of where it might lead over the coming years. But let's jump into this part here with the Mining Council, because this has been in the news a lot lately.
Yeah, so Saylor, Musk, and company met with the I think they actually created this Bitcoin Mining Council.
Yeah, a loose organization. Yeah.
Yep, a loose organization. They brought these miners together, and they said, "Hey, here's a problem. Effectively, what can we realistically do to solve this?"
Yep.
And it's still a little vague as to what exactly their mission statement is, but I think it's pretty easy to draw some conclusions. In that Elon is, in all likelihood, looking on how to make Bitcoin environmentally sustainable with a smaller carbon footprint, right?
Yeah. And one of the parts here, I'm just going to switch to your next slide in a second. One other part within that Bitcoin Council conversation, according to Saylor, I think he said this at Consensus, and then on a couple of media pieces, he said that what the conversation, how it went as well, was the top miners within North America were kind of letting Elon know kind of the direction and what their commitment to sustainability was. And then on the other side of the table, they were trying to get Elon's perspective based on all of his experience, capital, all his resources, seeing what he was thinking in his head and kind of them coming together, because collectively it could do a lot of good. But I'm going to jump back to your slide here so you can jump to the next one.
Yeah, so this is effectively with all of this, is Musk driving Bitcoin off of a cliff or into the future?
Yeah, so is he the superhero that I was just saying potentially could be, or yeah?
Let's talk about that a little bit. Okay, so we have Musk, an obvious innovator, strategic thinker, right? He owns multiple companies that deal with renewable energy. If I had to pick one word out of everything, I would say he's a disruptor. And what he has a gift in being able to do is go into existing ecosystems, existing industries, and disrupt those industries. He's doing it with space. He's doing it with cars. He's doing it in other areas. He's got access to manufacturing incredibly powerful batteries, powering the Teslas. He's got access to photovoltaics for in order to generate for energy from solar panels. This right here is the energy. I think this was called an energy wall. Yeah, energy. I think so. Energy wall, and one of the things that it does is it's a battery, and you plug it in your house, and because in a lot of areas of the world, peak hours and non-peak hours, energy is charged differently. So if you can store energy during non-peak hours and then use it during peak hours, this could essentially pay for itself. Now, so I'm just going to throw some ideas out here as to what some of this might look like. We already know that ASIC miners through Bitmain, and although in other areas, ASIC miners have the potential to be profitable. So Elon already has these fully electric products, how hard would it really be for him to integrate, I would say, relatively low power, but still profitable, based on kilowatt hours, still profitable ASICs into products that already exist, and use it as a selling point to using my products and make money. For example, this is already knows when it's off peak hours. Maybe you've got a Bitcoin miner that only runs off peak hours, right? And it's an energy efficient ASIC, and that's a potential use case. These are just off the top of my head. Well, I came up with them earlier, off the top of my head. What about integrated ASIC miner inside of a Tesla? And I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but just hear me out. The car already has broadband wireless access. They take software updates over the air, right? What about being able to potentially make money while driving and automatically reduce? Maybe it automatically converts it over to USD for you that you've mined and reduces your car payment. Not saying that it would be a lot, but if the price of Bitcoin goes up, or if it skyrockets, this could be an interesting narrative or to play with, and it wouldn't be that hard to integrate. And it doesn't have to be these 2,000 watt miners that you see on Bitmain. These could be just lower cost ASICs, and just as a feature, just to possibly show, since he's already invested in Bitcoin, to show his commitment to the technology. This is a possible idea. Photovoltaic systems. Elon, with Solar City, Elon has a lot of access to sustainable, renewable energy, and I really think that the reason he's building this council, and the reason that you're seeing all this drama online, is because it's because of not what he said, but what he hasn't said. And what he has not said is that he's looking to make Bitcoin sustainable and environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are some use cases that I came up with today, just off the top of my head. And we've got a lot of creative people in our Discord community, and also in our YouTube audience. Hey, if you guys got some ideas on what you think on how on what you think about what we just talked about, post them in the comments below if you've got an idea.
Yeah, and I think that one part adding to that, so some people might be watching the part that you mentioned on, whether it be, paying off part of a car payment somehow connected with Tesla. That might sound like a crazy idea now. Maybe it still sounds crazy in 5 or 10 years. Maybe it doesn't, depending on where stuff goes. But I think the collective path forward, as far as what Elon's doing with his multiple billion-dollar companies and what his thoughts are on Bitcoin, is he is not, whether it's course correction or maybe a little bit of a backtracking, whatever it might be, if he is going to be advocating for something moving forward, it has to align with all the other things that he's doing. He's already stated publicly for a long, long time his goal is to go to Mars. And when it comes to Tesla's growth, when it comes to SpaceX's growth, whether we're talking Solar City, Boring Company, et cetera, like you said, they all disrupt. They all have an idea in mind to be for the greater good, so that he's just kind of just saying, hey, I'm for it, but right now I'm really not big on the whole energy situation, whether it be on part of him not having a full understanding. And that's kind of where Saylor comes in, whether Saylor's talking to him, which is one of the most notable people in the world of Musk, everyone knows him, but Saylor's been trying to do this with so many other people. So I think that this is just an especially notable figurehead at the top, where I think that a lot of other people that have a lot of impact will also come on board. Maybe that's in a year, maybe that's in 2 years, but specifically to this Elon aspect of it, he just wants to make sure it aligns with his ethos and what he wants to do for the world moving forward. But I think that even talking about your other stuff about, whether we're talking ASICs or stuff on, houses or with cars, we'll see where that leads moving forward. But what I would like to ask you is, how do you think, I think another interesting aspect of the conversation is, what do you think happens with, do you think that Saylor and Musk get other notable people alongside the North American miners involved over the next coming years, and that helps adoption? Or what's your take there?
I think that I don't think they'll have to ask. I think that people will
naturally,
and they will come. So as soon as when Elon, here's the takeaway that I want. Right, here's you and the rest of the audience and our wonderful Discord community. Think about this: with all of the sustainable technology that Elon is into, between the batteries, the photovoltaics, all of these renewable energy resources, anything that he puts into place that adds mining hash power to the network takes away, using sustainable energy, takes away hash power from other areas. Other areas being, either coal or nuclear or whatever. Anything he can bring in with a solar panel, anything he can bring in that's in a sustainable way will take hashing of power away from other areas. And the reason for that is because other areas, once you start bringing in more hash power, profitability goes down. Profitability goes down. Miners that have higher kilowatt hours, higher cost per kilowatt, start to drop off, right? So I'm curious, really, to see where this goes. If he could, if you could develop something that happens. No, I do realize, you know, the ASICs nowadays and the hashing power of is Bitcoin is enormous, but also, I mean, with the latest ASICs, I think that there could be a solution here. That's what my instinct is. That's what my instinct is telling me. So, once these plans start to come into place, I don't think that Musk and, well, Saylor or Musk will have to go out. People will come to him.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Tesla, they have no advertising department.
Yeah, exactly. He is the media arm within himself. Yeah. Like, they're not hiring a PR firm. I don't care who it is. They don't need a PR arm. He is that arm in itself. In closing of this conversation of talking about you know, sustainability, where the direction of their Bitcoin Council is going to go forward, tying in, if you enjoyed this conversation, we're going to be in upcoming videos not only talking about our project, which is the QRL. So if you are interested to learn more about what we do, go to the url.org. And in short, if you are interested in making sure that you are keeping your digital assets secure moving forward, we are a project that will make sure that we are keeping your assets post-quantum secure. And so if you're first time viewing this video, definitely go to the URL below Michael right there, the QRL.org. And also, if you haven't already done so, make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you are, you know, first to be informed on upcoming videos. And we're not going to dive into too much more today. We've dove enough on this topic. And as Michael said, if you have an idea for, you know, how you think that, you know, Elon and company could be building and, you know, making Bitcoin more sustainable in the future, put your comments below. Myself and Michael are going to read every single one of them. And upcoming episodes, we're going to be talking about other stuff in our QRL News Roundtable that's topical related to crypto. Also stuff that is related to our project, which is the QRL. So make sure that you check that out. Just if it's your first time, go to the QRL.org. Just kind of get a general sense about what we do. And we look forward to seeing you in future episodes. And, you know, coming for the crypto and staying for the quantum long term. And Michael, I appreciate you joining us in this conversation and leading us through the timeline of Elon and Saylor. And we will see what the rest of 2021 leads.
See ya.